Network. Roy Almog is also here. He's the president and founder of 2% Realty, an Alberta firm selling homes on a reduced commission structure, and Terry Peranich, founder and CEO of the Peranich Group of Companies, which of course includes the RE/MAX Elite Group of offices in Edmonton and SuperstarAgent.com, a real estate training and coaching company. Welcome to Alberta Primetime, all of you.
Great to be here.
Well, let's start. We'd be remiss with the three minds we have here if we didn't get a bit of an update on the market right now in Alberta. Canadian Real Estate Association forecast that when all the numbers are in, sales will be up in 2009 across Canada, but not in Alberta, where they're expecting a drop of 3%. Don, I'll start with you. Why is that?
Well, why is it? Because it's doing a comparison year to year to year. And I think that what we're finding is that in Alberta, the slowdown started later. So therefore, the uptake is starting a little bit later. And you know what? Here in Alberta, we're witnessing that economic W where things are starting to take off, but the unemployment is still high, et cetera. So there's a little bit of lack of confidence going on. I think that we'll see come May, June of next year, this place is going to be on fire.
So first part of the W, now we're in the second part, so now we're expecting the rebound?
Yep, and then you'll have another drop afterwards, and then you'll start to see the strength come probably in early 2011, where everything is really starting to hum.
Okay, Roy, you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we had a slow start to the year, which didn't really attribute to build up a steady number of sales. We did pick up quite a bit towards the latter part of the year. Got some good momentum in the spring, summer, and then now in the winter we're seeing that numbers are still going strong. So hopefully, much like Don was saying, the momentum continues and carries us through to next year with exceeding numbers. Okay,
and Terry, we've heard lots about the W, the V, the
sure.
the Y, whatever.
Sure.
What do you
Well,
see?
I always agree with Don, so
good. Okay, moving on.
which is a good thing. But I mean, primarily throughout 2009, you know, as Roy echoed, it started slow. But one of the things that I saw, you know, with our interest rates being, you know, the lowest that they were in, you know, roughly 40 years. We saw a real spike in business for about 6 months here, you know, in the greater Edmonton area, and it was, you know, very, very exciting. A lot of builder inventory, I think, was on the market, came down in price, and then you always have situational sales where people are selling for whatever situation it may be. So, but again, having said that, it's okay right now. Maybe a little bit spotty, but I definitely agree with Don. As we move forward into the spring and summer of next year, it's going to be very, very crazy.
Okay. I'll stick with you on this one, Terry. We've seen some changes in the real estate business model in the last few years. Want to talk about what the impact has been, things like the We List and 2% Realty. What's the impact for the average consumer out there from that emergence of those models, especially online models?
Well, from my perspective, I've always been a person that embraces competition and embraces change, because we all learn from it. You know, I know in my business model, I actually raised my fees, you know, based on some of the services that we provide, and we've had, as a matter of fact, one of our best years on record. But I think, you know, the world economy is changing and the real estate model is changing, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that giving the consumer different choices is a good thing. I really don't have any problem with it at all.
Right. I'm sure you agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, competition is good for everybody.
And so, but was there a sort of a gap there that needed to be exploited? Is that where?
Yeah, that's exactly how I kind of came to start this. Is that there was the We List, the ComFrees, to do it by owner, and then there was the other end of the spectrum, which was the larger franchises, but there really wasn't much in between in the way of kind of filling in that spread. So we got started about 2.5 years ago, and it's been great, and business is growing year over year, and we're finding that we're doing quite well.
Okay, Don, you think it's healthy?
Well, I think anything's healthy when you're seeing an old marketplace get attacked, I guess would be the term, by other forces, and it makes them wake up. You know, like all of us in business who've been in business for a long time, every once in a while you get complacent, you get comfortable. And Roy bringing that to the Canadian Real Estate Association's attention, they go, oh, wait a second, maybe we should start looking at different models and being aware of what we're doing instead of getting stuck in the mud. I think it's great. I think it gives consumers transparency. I think it gives consumers opportunity. And now they're aware, number one, is that you can go to your current real estate like Terry and say, Terry, I'm not happy with the fees that you're charging. Are you willing to adjust? And Terry can say yes or no.
Right.
And but a lot of people thought that A fee is a fee is a fee because it's in a contract and it's in black and white. And you know, some of the things that I do, if I need a house sold within 30 days instead of 90 or 120, I make sure I price it right, and then I give an extra incentive, an extra percentage to a guy like Terry to say, listen, I'll give you an extra 1.5% if you get this deal done in 30 days. And you can just write all of that stuff in the contract. But most people don't do that. And I think that this is showing some attention onto that issue.
And if I may interject, and Don said it best, I know, you know, I've taught real estate agents across the world on marketing systems, and I often hear that we have a new concept, you know, perhaps like Roy's in our marketplace. How do we handle it? And, you know, I've been in the business 20 years, and I've seen several of these models come and go, some good, maybe not some so good. And I think Roy's doing a good job because he's given people an alternative. And it's almost, and I say to, you know, real estate agents across the country, if you offer a lot of benefits, the consumer then has a choice. They can go with the benefits you offer, and if you present a commission structure and they're happy with it, they can accept that, or they can choose to negotiate it. So again, it's no different than going to a, you know, on a buffet line. You can pick this or you can pick that.
Okay. So. Take a break. Great start of the conversation. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more maybe about some of the pros and cons of emerging new businesses such as yourselves, Roy. More with our panel on the evolving world of real estate when Alberta Primetime returns. And we, of course, always want to hear from you on the discussion. Head to albertaprimetime.com to share your thoughts. We're back after the break. Stay with us.
I have done several times. I'm satisfied. Low charge, good result.
Because using a realtor, we're going to make sure that you're covered. You're not going to be eligible for a lawsuit. We're going to make sure that you are represented properly and get you the best deal, get you the best money.
I'd probably try and go it alone. I'd try and go online. I'd try to use every resource out there available to me, and then, you know, of course, if I was in a hurry, I'd probably go to a real estate person because they have more access to more people.
So some interesting thoughts from Albertans on the different options available for buying and selling homes. We're back with our panel of real estate industry insiders. And Roy, with all these, this emergence of different sort of companies looking at giving you different options, giving the public different options, are there issues of unscrupulous folks out there that the public needs to be aware of?
With every industry, there always are. It really boils down back to the basics of education, kind of letting people know what to expect, what some companies do and don't do for them. At the end of the day, with us being licensed and governed by the Real Estate Board, we take on a great deal of liability every time we handle any transaction. We make sure the contracts are done properly. We make sure all parties are secured. So it's not as simple as just putting it out there and doing it yourself. It's no different than doing your own taxes, changing your own oil. Sure, anybody could really do it, but would you rather challenge that on your own, or would you just leave it to the professionals to handle?
Okay, and I guess that's a good question, Terry. What do you get if you stick with the standard model? You pay that, maybe you negotiate a little bit, as Don mentioned, but what, I mean, what does the consumer get for that?
Well, and again, you know, this is a conversation, in my opinion, to educate the public. And, you know, in my home selling system, it's a guaranteed system. So, you know, I spend nearly $1 million a year on marketing and advertising my clients' homes in several different publications, and I have a dozen websites, and I'm very proud that statistically I'm able to sell my clients' homes for more money. But there comes a cost in that. And, you know, there's the old saying, and I don't know if this is appropriate, but, you know, you get what you pay for. And again, you know, I'm still a firm believer that every system has a benefit for the different individuals, you know, such as mine and such as Roy's.
Okay, Don, for the average consumer out there that clearly not as savvy as you three gentlemen, what's going into this, and with all the options out there, what would you suggest a consumer, how they tackle it?
It's really super simple. Is you're going to sell your house or your property. You go and you interview the Roys and the Terrys and whomever else that you feel so inclined, and you say, okay, so what am I getting for what I am paying you? What is my marketing plan? Number one, how are you going to sell my house? You're just going to stick it on MLS and pray? You know, that's not going to, you know, what is your marketing plan? How are you going to help sell my house? And then you can start to weigh off the difference between what Roy can do for you, it's just like choosing a restaurant. Are you going to go to a fast food hamburger restaurant, or are you going to go to a high-end steak restaurant? And is there a difference? So you're still going to get fed, and you're still going to get food, and you're still going to go home, hopefully, not hungry. But it's at what level do you want to play? Ask the question before you sign the contract.
Okay, do the homework. Let's move on. Don, I'll stick with you on this. Competition Bureau obviously involved with an investigation of the MLS system. Why was that initiated, and what have we seen come from that investigation so far?
You know, the first conversation on that started in 1986. I did a bunch of investigation. That conversation has been going on since 1986, back when it was books. You know, I don't know if you ever saw those books. And that was more of an internal, you know, MLS was designed initially as an internal, realtors sharing all of their listings. And then as it turned onto the web, and the Canadian Real Estate Association, who I don't represent, by the way, quite clearly spent millions of dollars making this a accessible website. And then they said, well, let's make this repository open to the public. Right. So now it's become such a big and popular website that now there's people who want to access and put their properties on that without paying what the Canadian Real Estate Association wants them to pay, which I find very bizarre. It's say, for instance, you've created the #1 news website in Alberta, which you have, by the way, Alberta Primetime, and the Competition Bureau comes on and says, no, you got to start putting other news shows on your show. It doesn't make sense. If I was the Canadian Real Estate Association, and I'm not, but if I was them, I would say, okay, well, fine, thank you very much. We'll take our MLS.ca and take it back in-house and just share it for the realtors. So the unintended consequence of this is that we could have less transparency in Canada than more transparency.
And less for the average
consumer. And the two companies who started this complaint have both gone broke anyway. Okay. So they don't even exist.
Roy, what do you think of this complaint? Is it warranted?
I don't think it's warranted. I mean, like Don was saying, the system works because it's controlled. The integrity of the system is maintained by realtors, by real estate boards. When we post a listing on the MLS, there's 375 different fields of data that we fill in, and we fill them in accurately, and they're checked, double checked, triple checked. When we say a house is 1,500 square feet, it's 1,500 square feet. It's not 1,650, it's not 1,400. Right. Those are all things that are in place for the bettering of the system and making sure that it stays intact and doesn't fall apart by just letting anybody post whatever they want on there. So I think from that angle, it really makes sense to just keep it to realtors and to the boards.
Terry?
Well, you know, my position on it is you know, we are licensed, we are governed, you know, we pay to get educated, to be professional real estate agents, and you know, in the end, you know, it's business to business. We are in business to make a profit and you know, to help our customers. And you know, when you're going to start opening up you know, this particular can of worms with anybody can you know, post their home on the MLS, like Roy said, and I concur strongly. We are professionals where we know how to measure the home and you know, take the proper photos and represent that home, check for any structural defects or damages, you know.
And there's some accountability inherent in your...
Absolute accountability, no different than, you know, no different than, let's say, the Law Society. We have the Real Estate Council of Alberta that does a great job, the different real estate boards. You know, we're not, you know, just a commission-free kind of an outfit that can say whatever they want or do whatever they want without being governed or being held accountable.
Okay. And the only other concern, of course, is we've seen all of the other websites out there, and the integrity of the data is so weak. And I am not a realtor. I want to say, these guys are realtors. I am not a realtor. I'm a buyer. Right. And I want my information to be accurate so I can make a clear decision. And if Mom and Joe Smith want to buy their property, they want to know that the information they've got is good. And if it's not governed and not controlled, it could be just like the Wild West once again.
Okay. And not good for the consumer.
And not good for the consumer.
Yeah, there's no recourse. If it's just a free-for-all, anybody can say and do what they want, and nobody's really held accountable at the end of the day. To start going through lawsuits over square footage and such, I don't know how many people would actually take issue with it, but at the same time, you're left with a property that's the wrong size, structurally it's got defects that were never disclosed. So there's a lot of buying such a large dollar transaction without really knowing that the information is true and accurate.
Okay. Great discussion, gentlemen. Some fabulous insight, as usual, from Don. Nice to have you both on the show for the first time.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Don Campbell, the president of the Real Estate Investment Network. Roy Almog is the president and founder of 2% Realty. And Terry Peranich, founder and CEO of the Peranich Group of Companies. Up next on Alberta Primetime, we'll get interactive with your feedback, and Alberta makes history with a Canadian first.